do get the sense that fans of this team are down on Erik Karlsson. I also get the sense, respectfully, that it's for the wrong reason. Good morning to you. Good Thursday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday if you're into football and or baseball. I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. When Karlsson won the Norris Trophy last season in San Jose, he did it entirely. And I don't mean almost entirely. I don't mean 99%. He did it entirely because of his offense. It's who he is. It's who he's always been. He's got 805 NHL points. He's one of the premier scoring defensemen in league history. So when he had 25 goals last season for San Jose, and he's got 8 for Pittsburgh through 64 games, that's an unimaginable drop-off. When he had 76 assists last season for a last-place set of Sharks, and he's now got 36, that's an unimaginable drop-off. 101 points to 44. That actually is the beginning and the end, as far as I'm concerned, of the discussion related to Karlsson. He's never been some defensive stud. He's never been a guy who's going to focus on his own end first. I actually think he's been better than expected, at least better than I expected, in his own end this season. Where it hasn't happened and where it's really, really, really hurt this team is at the other end. Now, the low-hanging fruit here, not that it isn't accurate, is the power play. He's been on and off the top unit, also unthinkable. He never was able to assert himself as the center point guy, the umbrella guy, the way they'd hoped going way back to camp. He certainly wasn't able to team up with Chris Letang in any sort of capacity the way he had done in his first few years in San Jose with Brent Burns, where they would just have this two-man unbelievable threat off each point. But yet, he's got a +6 rating compared to his -26 rating from last season. And I know plus-minus has its people who just slam it without thinking about it, but plus-minus over the course of a season actually does tend to mean something. It helps if it gets weighed and there's other advanced metrics, but it's not nothing, okay? He has been okay defensively. Nobody wants to hear that because the giveaways and the stuff that really sticks out in your head. But he covers a lot of ground in the defensive zone, and that compensates for a lot else. So what happened? How do you go from producing 101 points for a terrible team from the back end to coming to a team that's loaded with, theoretically anyway, offensive talent, and have your point total cut in half? Don't say it's getting old. He's 33. He was 32 then. He's 33 now. That's not commonly the threshold for the athlete's big drop-off. Well, I'm going to hearken back to a conversation that he and I had. This was in Winnipeg a few weeks ago. Time does seem to fly. That actually was a few weeks ago, in which I brought up with him, maybe for the millionth time, the concept of what I jokingly refer to with him as the Karlsson play, which is where he just finds a spot on the rink. He hovers, he dekes, he does whatever's necessary to give himself some time and space so that he can survey the rink, but also for somebody else to position themselves to, get open, but get open near the net where he can find you. Speaking of advanced metrics, last season, Karlsson led the NHL, all players, forwards and defensemen, in connecting on passes into the opponent's slot. Think about that for a moment. Instead of shooting, he would find somebody in an even better shooting spot. And they would do something. I mean, you can stink at hockey and score goals from the slot, okay? When I look back at some of the plays that he made in studying his season that he had in San Jose, this was back last summer at the time of the trade, so many of the guys on the receiving end were just these nobodies, guys who, come up from the AHL to take roster spots of really good players like Timo Meier and so forth that had been traded out. Didn't matter who they were. In fact, in a lot of cases, this goes to his time in San Jose, but before that, to his time in Ottawa, he was actually more adept at connecting with these pluggers than he was with stars. I know that sounds nuts, and I know that sounds counterintuitive, the Norris Trophy winner getting all his points, but by connecting with third and fourth liners, but that actually was the case. If you think of Karlsson as someone who's engineering brilliant back and forth, or just ripping the puck from the point on his own, or creating his own offense on the rush, yeah, he's done some of that. Obviously, he's done a little bit of everything when it comes to offense. But for the most part, I think of him as a guy who, if he was playing on a playground and there was a fire hydrant in front of the net, he'd be the guy who'd be banking the puck in off the fire hydrant. That's just kind of his style of play. That didn't happen here. That was what our talk was about in Winnipeg. That hadn't happened here to that point. It hasn't happened here since. There was a sequence in Ottawa 2 nights ago where Karlsson carried the puck down the right boards in the Senators' zone, and he's got his head up, and he's looking, and he's still looking, and he keeps moving, and then he dekes around some other guy. That little shoulder dip? He dips around him, goes further down the right boards. He's still looking. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. There's no one there. No one went. Whereas if it had been the fourth line or Noel Achari or whoever, he at least might have had a prayer. He had nothing. When you talk about the bad mix, if that's how you see it between Karlsson and the Penguins, it's never been about the defense. It's never been about the power play. It's never been about the coach's strategy. It's been that. No one went to the net, just like they didn't go to the net the other night in Ottawa. Maybe tonight they'll go to the net because there's the Sharks at the other end. When we come back, J1Q. Today's J1Q comes from Rob, who says, DK, since Jake Guentzel is an unrestricted free agent beginning July 1, if Kyle Dubas is able to shuffle the deck with his salary cap, and it's going up finally, after being frozen for what seems like half a decade, wouldn't he be able to bring 59 back? Raleigh's never going to win another cup. They got lucky in 2006. So why wouldn't he want to come back and play with Sidney Crosby? I've asked around about this a lot. A lot of times to a lot of people, often to the same people, multiple times. I've tried to get a sense for this. And I believe that I have, two senses to this. One is, and again, these aren't even going to align. So when I share these with you, you're going to think, dude, you just gave me nothing. But that's a lot of the times the way this process, the reporting process works. You'll hear bits of information that don't seem like they align. And then at the end, whenever the thing unfolds, you go, oh, that's what that person meant versus what that person meant. And it still ended up meaning the same thing. So what I have to offer you on the Jake issue is that the Penguins, realize and understand that it's possible. That's the obvious part. They also believe that it's possible from the team/player standpoint, meaning as actual entities, not in terms of the reality of the stuff that would have to happen. I'm already not making sense, right? Okay. Well, whatever. This is you asked, okay? They think it can happen. They also happen to think that it won't happen, meaning they think it can, but they think that it won't. Now, what that's based on, I don't know. That might be based on an awareness that there could be a team somewhere that would just, be like the Maple Leafs and just grossly overpay. In which case, you'd kind of be justified in staying out of it. That has not happened, obviously, to date, since he hasn't been a free agent. So that's all speculative and theoretical on their part. But here's the other part that I know, and this part I do feel very comfortable quelling, or quashing, I guess would be the better word. And that's any idea of some sort of conspiracy. If there were some, wink, wink, nod, nod deal like, hey, we're just going to trade you here and let you have a chance at a cup while we pile up some assets, and then let's just talk again on July 1 and make everybody happy on, no, that absolutely, unequivocally has not occurred. The Oscars were this past weekend, and none of the individuals who are legitimately seething right now, not least of which is the captain of the team, are anywhere near that qualified as actors. So nobody knows a thing. If anyone has this in the back of their heads in terms of like, yeah, we could still do this, there really couldn't be many additional people beyond Kyle Dubas. I hope this at least attempted to answer your question as far as not just guessing at stuff, but sharing with you what I've actually heard. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Penguins, and we're going to do another one of these tomorrow.